Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad Khatamin Nabiyyin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome back to another episode of the Prophetic Pulpit Podcast. The podcast where we take relevant topics that we find ourselves in and bring in the ulama, inshallah, to discuss questions that the viewers have sent in, questions that our community have, and inshallah get the answers that we all want and need. Today's topic, as we find ourselves in the blessed month of Dhul Hijjah, is a topic of Hajj and Qurbani. You know, this time of year, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شَهْرًا فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ يَوْمَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ مِنْهَا أَرْبَعَةٌ hurum. That there are 4 sacred months in Islam, and we find ourselves in one of those sacred months. And inshallah today we are very blessed to have with us our great teacher Ustadh Tahir, mashallah, who has traveled the world, mashallah, taken from many different scholars from around the world. Ustadh Tahir, jazakallah khair for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Allah bless you.
Sheikh, this topic of Hajj and Qurbani, you know, we find ourselves, as we said, in Dhul Hijjah, in the month of Hajj coming up. Why is this an important topic to discuss in our day and age?
No doubt, mashallah ta'ala, the essence of religion is preparation. And the more that we prepare, the more that we take. So, mashallah, one of the wisdom she mentioned, one of the secrets of Islam is that we've been given seasons. We've been given moments to really take advantage of. I mean, we just had Ramadan. It does seem like a long time, but it wasn't a long time ago. It was just a few weeks away, Ramadan. We have the Hajj season now. We have for example, Muharram coming up after that. Throughout the year, there's great seasons that are there to be seized upon. Now, we will never take advantage of those seasons illa bil istidad, sabah preparation. So now these Dhul Hijjah by itself is a magnificent month, but the 10 days that are coming up after that, those 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, we have to prepare in order to be able to seize those opportunities. And the greater than, as we know, the greater than the days of Ramadan, and that's Ramadan. So this is why it's important. One of the things that's lost, actually, many ulama speak about, especially in the West, is the lack of the Islamic calendar. Like, there needs to be a revival of the Islamic calendar. Like, I was doing a lecture, I think it was like a couple of weeks back, and I couldn't remember, people were smiling because I couldn't remember. So are we in April? And it was like, I think it was like maybe the 17th, 18th April, because you forget where I live. I live in a Muslim land, and you don't really realize April, May, June doesn't mean anything. It's like Shawwal now, Dhul Hijjah. So that that needs to be reoriented within us. It really does. Yeah. And we don't need to start thinking in terms of the Hijri calendar. You know,
the founder of Al-Imdaad Mama in South Africa, they say that early on, when anybody used to send emails from the office, you had to have the Islamic date on. You can put the Gregorian date on as well, but minimum you had to have the Islamic date, and you know, it orientated, like you said, throughout the year to what actually Islamic season are we in.
Yeah, because I mean, everything's sacred. Like, look at languages. Language is sacred, for example. So when we're talking about concepts, when you use the Arabic or the Islamic term, it's completely, you're talking about ilm versus knowledge. You know, knowledge is something called knowledge. People who knowledge the information. You can get knowledge from ChatGPT now or whatever. But we talk about ilm, we know you talk about something different. So the same thing here. Time is sacred, and if you're going to link it to January, February, March, which even the non-Muslims aren't really aware of, there's no significance, cultural significance here. Like, even if all due respect to other cultures, but even within their culture, there's no significance to it. Whereas we have, mashallah, these months, like the verse you just quoted. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is decreed from the beginning of time. So, yeah, mashallah.
And Sheikh, you talk about preparing. So some people may be of the opinion that, for example, I'm not going Hajj this year, so there's nothing really to prepare for. For those who are going Hajj, for those who aren't going Hajj, what actually do we need to prepare for? What is there for us to take?
SubhanAllah. So I mean, for those going on Hajj, SubhanAllah, there's a lot to take, and there's 2 aspects here. Like, if you're going on Hajj to fulfill an obligation versus non-obligation, I say there's 2 different paths. If you're going on Hajj to fulfill an obligation, there's an even greater sense of preparation that needs to be done. Maybe physical preparation needs to be done so people are ready, and obviously mental and spiritual preparation. And if you're going again, then the same thing. The key preparations I would say are 2 things. Firstly is the preparation of the mind, because some of the ulama, as you'll be aware, they even mention that even thoughts are taken into account when you enter these sacred places. So really to prepare to purify our hearts of bad opinions of other people, of hatred towards others, or even having a bad or a negative opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah protect us of having, like, you know, what qalaq and ham and all these kind of anxieties and worries. To purify yourself of that is important, no doubt, mashallah, and that's the real sort of preparation. And this is a preparation that's sometimes missed. People will have their hotels booked and they'll have the flights, but the visa's ready. I know subhanAllah, people, they've packed 2 months beforehand. So you physically pack 2 months beforehand, and then what about the spiritual preparation? It's not really there. So that's that. And then the second key preparation for Hajj, if you're going whether the first time or repeated, is preparation of death. That you go as if you're about to die. Yeah, and to really actualize that. Again, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what, 70 times a day, 100 times a day, he would remember death. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would never close his eyes. He would never take a morsel of food. He never take a breath except he thought it would be his last. These are like statements we hear, but realities of those statements are lacking within us. And this is a great time for that, because you're actually going on a physical journey. Also, I mean, what's interesting, your perspective of time changes. Like, for personally speaking, the faqir, I've traveled a lot, and I've lived in different places, and you realize this. One thing I realized was, like, for example, I lived in Istanbul for 2 years in Turkey, and then we just moved to where I live now in Yemen. We just went on a holiday there, actually, and then we decided to move. And I was just reflecting on this, and I thought, subhanAllah, like, I just thought, like, my thoughts, my whole life was there. So then you, like, throughout the day, you'll be thinking about this, I've got, like, and then suddenly you just get up and leave. And I just realized, actually, that's death, isn't it? That's what's going to happen. All these things that we're so worried about, and, like, I've got to make sure I get to that place at that time, and I've got to make sure I fulfill this, and I've got to make sure I'm on time for this, and I've got to do all of this. It's just within, like, 1 minute, 10 seconds, it's all going to be gone. None of it even mattered. So Hajj should really crystallize that within us. It needs to be a moment of revival, for the Ummah and for us as individuals too.
You can almost take that on a daily basis as well, like they say with every salah. Just going to the masjid, have that thing that this is the last salah I'm ever going to pray. Exactly. Pray as if that's the case.
That's right. I mean, Imam Ghazali goes further. He says that if you want to measure the great Imam Ghazali, the Mujaddid of his century, and some say the most important Islamic scholar of all time, he says that if you want to measure your success as a believer, look at the length of your hopes. So if you think, I'm only going to live for a month, okay, you're on a good level. If you think I'm only going to live for a week, you're better. Day, better. Hour, better. Like that. And the shorter, and again, this is reality. It's not like we all say, I could die in 5 minutes, but how are we living our lives? We're living them as if, like, retirement funds, and I put a bit aside here. I've got my kids, my grandkids. Kids, don't forget about kids and grandkids. You've got no. So the reality of that's how our affair is decided. Our spiritual state is found in that. It's not found in like outward shows of charity or worship or whatever. My outward shows don't matter. Or the essence of the matter is that. So that's what he will say. He says that the hisn, the fortress of protecting against long hopes is remembrance of death. And then it says the fortress of the fortress, the hisn. What's the absolute fortress of protecting against long hopes? Is to think about the immediacy of death. That death will ambush you. This is the killer. Sidi Ahmad Zarruq, the great Imam of Fez, that his title was a Muqtasib of the ulama and awliya. He was a corrector of the scholars. What did he say? He said, there's a very thin veil, a very thin wall, and death is waiting to ambush you at any point. And once somebody realizes that, then life changes. I mean, the angel of death, me, you, anybody else, he visits every day, and he's just there waiting to pounce. And these types of realities have just become very distant from our lives, unfortunately. Like, when did we really remember death? Allah Ta'ala. It's been too long.
And almost death, you could almost translate into the Hajj season, and even when people go Umrah, like the clothes that we wear, the simplicity of what we go with. Ihram, for example.
Like, there's no better preparation for death than the Hajj. And similar Umrah, but Hajj even more so. I mean, it's pure preparation for death. You pay for your debts. You apologize to people who you might have wronged. It's like, it's a direct mirror of your deathbed. So even more, like you say, we should actualize this through our lives, but the Hajj is a great opportunity to really do that in the most serious of ways. You make tawbah back to Allah. You go on Hajj hoping that your sins, bainaka wa bain al-ibad, are all forgiven. Your sins with people as well as with Allah, all of it. So it's just like, if that's not preparation for death, there's no better dress rehearsal.
Definitely. Definitely. And for those who aren't going on Hajj, for example, in them 10 days, maybe they obviously aren't going on Hajj to do the ibadah there. What are some maybe actions or anything that they can do in their homes or in their...
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question. The first thing that I would always say that we learn from our ulama is the greatest act of worship potentially in these days and other days is just istish'ar, just to perceive and to recognize the blessings of the time. That's something we must. What's the greatest? Laylatul Qadr. Okay, better than 1,000 months. But the reality of Laylatul Qadr is just to recognize, I'm in Laylatul Qadr. Like, look at the bounties Allah has given. Look at the magnificence of every second, every moment. Just to perceive that is something incredible. So the same thing here. Go into the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, just to perceive that you're in the greatest days and nights of the year. That in and of itself. And now beyond that, the preparation, like we mentioned, some of them, like the Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Zubayr from the Tabi'in, he wouldn't sleep throughout the time. He wouldn't take even a nap throughout those days. He didn't want to waste his moments. And then you complete a Quran khatam, try to do 3 juz a day, so you complete it on the 10th on the day of Eid. Of course, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, to increase in azkar, la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah. They said to prescribe, which mashallah, your viewers and whatnot can become aware of and get more details specifically in terms of what to read. But no doubt, as a general thing, to increase in our dhikr, to increase our recitation of the Quran. But the greatest thing is that istish'ar.
Subhanallah. The fact that that's an actual act of worship in and of itself. Yeah. Just perceiving the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's right, because the a'mal al-qulub, the actions of the heart, are much greater than the actions of the limb. And so that perception, that awareness, which then leads to shukr, the shukr of the heart is far greater than shukr of the tongue or any type of outward manifestation of shukr. And that's what it results in. It also results in perceiving the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounty is unlimited, and also it doesn't work the way we want it to work. Like there's no logic behind the bounty. How can fasting one day Yom Arafah be like 2 years? It doesn't make any sense logically. So what about all my sins of last year just for one day? That's your opinion. That's how you look at it. Like, so it really helps you to realize actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's measuring out. He's the Qadir. He's the one in control, not us.
Subhanallah. Another act of worship that people tend to do is the Qurbani. Now obviously depending on the madhab, there's different opinions regarding the Qurbani. Can you shed some light on?
Yeah, so I mean the madhahib, the Jumhur is of the opinion that the Qurbani is Sunnah Mu'akkada. That's the Jumhur. So when I say the Jumhur, I mean in this case the Maliki, the Shafis and the Hanabila. These 3 madhahib, they say Sunnah Mu'akkada. And the Ahnaf, of course, the Hanafis famously say that is wajib, based on this, the well-known hadith of the Prophet said that the one who doesn't do this, he doesn't come close to our masala, he doesn't approach him. So they'll say it's wajib, and it's wajib upon people who again will have the means. So you know that you're an adult, you have your senses intact and whatnot, and then you have what we call the nisab level. You reach the nisab level, which again, I mean, at the moment, I was just looking this up recently. I think on the silver one, I think it's about £750. I think it's about that much. You have to double check that, because I kind of work in like dollars and Yemeni riyals these days, so I'm not as aware. Yeah, I've become a dollar person now, but it's around that much from what I understand. So if you have possession of that level of wealth, then you give that out. You give your Qurbani, and then obviously for your family members, like with the wife with the Hanafi method, the wife would have to explicitly give permission. I believe it's the same with the Shafis as well. The wife gives permission for the husband, and then the husband can go ahead and do that. And obviously that extends out to cousins and grandparents or whoever you want to give it for. If they give you the permission, then you go out and do it on their behalf.
Where does the Qurbani actually come from? And it links with the Hajj itself as well, the deeper meaning. And the second part of that question is, what's the importance of passing that on to our children as well?
SubhanAllah. So there's a big responsibility. So the Qurbani, that we know the well-known story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam having the vision that he's sacrificing his son. SubhanAllah, there's great symbolism within this. There's great symbolism. He has this vision, and he tells his son, he goes and tells his son first. So very interesting. Again, if you compare to religion, compare to the story in the Bible it's like he's hiding the knife, and I mean, like, how is that befitting for a prophet? It's that treachery and deception, and this is like, hashallah, this is impossible to associate that with any prophet, let alone the great Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he tells his son, and he says, listen, I'm having a dream. In the dream, I'm slaughtering you. What do you see? Like, what's your opinion on this? Do as you please is the response of the son. So the lessons abound. Yeah, we could have a full course on this. Look at the love between the father and the son, the type of relationship that they have. He's calling me ya bunayya, oh my dear beloved son. He's not saying, hey, come here, I need to tell you something, and then pulls out a knife on him or something. And then Sayyidina Ismail Islam, complete submission to his blessed father, but also to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more so. Do as it, and inshallah you find me from the Sabirin, I'll be steadfast. And then what do we see? We then see cause and effect. Like some of the narrations that mention that he takes out the knife and he literally the knife doesn't cut.
Subhanallah.
So that there's so many levels of meaning to that. What does that mean? It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates the cause and the effect at every single point. That's not a small thing. And this is very important. This is where we have to match aqeedah with our daily experience. And this is one of the key things that's missing now. It's interesting. I was watching a podcast a while back from it was a couple of shuyukh speaking, and they mentioned that it's almost like the world, like back in the day, if you wanted to get a reminder to increase your iman, you would maybe go to the masjid, you maybe attend maybe even sometimes outside the masjid, you go to the zawiyah, you go to like a third space as they call it these days, you'd go to like a center and they'd be talking about things to like wa'af, to revive your. Now it's become like YouTube videos. That's become our wa'af, and from a perspective it is what it is. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Like if someone, like if the woman's in home and she's in the kitchen, she's listening to something better, mashallah. And we know many people, I know people that have entered Islam through that, and I know many people that have also returned back to Allah through these types of things. So it's a beautiful thing if it's done with good intentions. But so if you look at that's the purpose of those videos, is like we're teaching aqeedah, but to make it relevant and powerful. And once you understand a cause and effect, every single time that I put my hand in that fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is created at that very moment, instantaneously. If that changes the perspective on reality, it removes fear, it removes anxiety, it removes all of these worries and concerns that we have, because he's in control, and we just have to submit to that command. So there's a lot that can be said. It's something really profound, which is really, after I'm talking about religion, is the rituals of religion are full of meaning. And the problem we have now in this really materialistic, atheistic society we live in now, that they've stripped of ritual. Look at COVID. Like, you had people, their relatives were dying, and like these atheists, like, I mean, subhanAllah, if you're atheist, you want to kill yourself. Like, your father just died and you can't even have closure. You don't even have a ritual to say goodbye to him. So, like, even if, like, okay, there's religions that we obviously are going to say are false, but at least even Christian, at least they have something. At least they have some type of ritual for trying to process that. Now it's just like, subhanAllah, I mean, what kind of a life is that? An aimless life. And then, like, and then you've got no closure, you've got nothing there, you've got no symbolism that actually means anything. It's all just so shallow, and subhanAllah, Allah protect us from such deviancies.
Going back to that cause and effect, you see that throughout the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, with the fire, when he's thrown into the fire, the birds, for example, so many different parts of his story give that same lesson, isn't it?
Hanifan Musliman is in complete submission. He surrendered everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a Hanif. He's upon this path of, it's interesting to say the term Hanif means somebody who goes against his society, because his society is in diagram, which is us now. We all have to become Hanafa. We have to become people that move away, because the popular culture is just so foul. Like, it's really deteriorated. Just like, I was with like I've come back now with my daughter. She's doing a GCSEs, and we were just on the train on the way back from London when we came about a week ago. And subhanAllah, like, there's women on the train. They're having conversations like foul conversations. Having that she had headphones on, she was listening to nasheeds or whatever she was doing. But I was like, subhanAllah, I can't even go on a train now. Literally, like, they're having a bit to drink and they're talking about the most foul. And you're thinking, subhanAllah, this is popular culture. And so now to alienate yourself from that, you really have to just remove yourself, which is a shame. I don't want to. Like, mashallah, you want to be with the people. Like, when we were in Tanim, when we were in Yemen, we participate in every aspect of that society. And, so my children are used to that. They're used to being sociable. They're used to going out, being with people, being with the majority. And then you come to a place like this, difficult. You can't be with the majority. You can't. I mean, it was somewhat possible for us, maybe like, I mean, I'm in my 40s now, maybe like 30 years ago when I was a teenager. It was still so, I used to go out and play in the streets. We used to play with everybody. There was no problem. But now you go out and play in the streets, and the kids going to start using bad language, and so they wouldn't do that in those days. They were too ashamed. If they said something, you tell their parents, something about non-Muslims now, and how dare you say that to him? That's really rude. But now there seems all those filters have gone. Now the parents would join in. So what's the big deal? There's not even any ghaira left, like, in that sense of like some type of like, and I've got to protect my kid from this. So subhanallah. So this is that is a challenge, and that is where I really have to go Hanafa, because at the same time, Ibrahim alayhi salam has given us a clear path of how to deal with that type of society. His society was worse. So it's not like, oh, it's so hard, we can't do it. No, we can do it, but this is where we have to follow these principles.
Subhanallah. And going back to the Qurbani, so it's not just a physical thing. There is an inner aspect to that sacrifice that we make. Even for nowadays, for example, we'll have the Qurbani prices on screen, inshallah, where it normally is just a click of a button. You choose how many shares you're doing, donate. But that's not the Qurbani, is it?
No. So again, the Qurbani has many elements. The Qurbani itself, from amongst the elements, no doubt, is feeding others. So whether this is feeding your family, feeding guests, feeding the poor, there's these elements. Again, this is oftentimes lost within our society. Again, you go to traditional societies, again, go back to where I live, like, people were like, okay, so you've got guests coming, so now you're going to slaughter 2 goats. Is there still that kind of a society there? It might sound a bit, or you've got a big gathering where you're going to have like a big scholar's going to come in, have 200 people there maybe, so now you're going to sacrifice 30 goats. They still have that kind of concept of what, and then there's people coming from all over the world, because gatherings where so like, wow, there's people coming from 10, 20 different countries. I need to sacrifice to be a good host, or to do that to give people meat, because again, these people where we live in Yemen, they only eat meat twice a year, and many of them, they don't eat chicken, they don't eat fish, they don't even eat fruit. All they have is vegetables and something, like literally their weekly shopping budget is £1.50 a week.
Wow,
that's over 3,000 Yemen. That's 1,000. They live off that for the full week.
Wow.
So what they actually have is very. So then again, that aspect of bringing joy to the heart of a Muslim who doesn't have meat, they don't even find a chicken to sacrifice on Eid al-Adha. They've got nothing. So there's that element, and then know that the greatest element is the taqwa itself. Yeah, that's the key of the matter, is against this istish'ad, appreciating the tremendous nature of what you're about to do, because this istishar comes through time, but also through these types of acts that, like, it's the same mundane acts. Like a woman is in a house and she's sweeping a kitchen floor. Seems like a mundane act, but no, this act is sacred in Allah, tremendous. The man goes out to work, he goes to the factory and he's working. It seems simple, but this is jihad fi sabilillah to the highest levels. This is like he's now attained the highest levels of religion through istish'ar, i.e. through that appreciation of what he's doing and his intention. He's now achieved this great level. Again, the action of the heart. So the same thing here. You're right, it is a click of a button, but at the very least, at least still ourselves before the click of the button to appreciate what we're about to do.
It almost connects to the Islamic concept of the niyyah, and how, like, any normal act you do, even if it's not ibadah, with the correct niyyah, it can automatically straight away become something that brings us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, and like really multiply. It can fast track us to Allah. That's like they mentioned that many of these people who have achieved rank, what we would call the awliya, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, they achieve that rank through their intentions, not their actions. It's just intentions. Like you wake up in the morning, like Imam Al-Ghazali mentions in Bidayat al-Hidayah, you make an intention to give salam to every single Muslim. Now, you're not going to meet 2.1 billion Muslims on that day, but every Muslim you do meet, you fulfill that ahad, you fill that contract, you made all that, will do it, and then you are rewarded as if you gave salam to all of them. Because if you had the opportunity, you would have done. If every single Muslim you met in that day, you would have given a salam to all of them. So it's like that. These intentions are really the key to us. And of course, the issue is the issue is ikhlas, is in sincerity.
When it comes to giving Qurbani, both in a fiqh way and, let's say, in a spiritual way, are there any common mistakes that people tend to make? Or
I think that probably in terms of, like, from both perspectives, probably the most common mistake that people make is what we've just talked about, the lack of awareness of it. Because alhamdulillah, if you look at it in terms of a fiqh point, many of the things are taken care of now, because we're not traditionally that person would do them himself. So now you'd have to know, how am I going to do it, and etc. So it would be a big thing. But now we can get the professionals to do it, as they say. So as long as you've chosen and mashallah, people know how to do it. As long as you've chosen a reliable charity, or you've chosen a reliable person to do it for you, it's fine. So it's interesting. Those are one of the things about the modern world. Like, some things have disappeared and other challenges have emerged.
Definitely.
Look at the Hajj. The Hajj used to be so difficult to travel to the Hajj, but then when you got there, it was like, it's really easy. And now it's like the other way around. So easy to get there. When you get, that's when your problems start.
And that's the reality of the dunya. No matter how many obstacles we try sight taken away, it's always going to throw different obstacles at us.
Yeah. You're never going to be able to escape, and it's the nature of the abode. And it comes back to what we spoke about earlier about submission. You know, like once you submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, there's no obstacle or there's no challenge too great, and there's no goodness that, like, this is the balance. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wouldn't become excessively happy about the dunya, nor do you become excessively sad about it, because it is what it is. Like, there's no extreme. Like Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't overpraise food, nor did he criticize food. It's just that middle path, because really the reality is, it doesn't even care the Prophet's mind what he's eating. It's not even on his mind. It's there, mashallah. And what's on his mind is Allah. When he sees the food, he sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he sees. But the food itself, what's the texture of it, what's this, what's that?
It didn't occur to.
It wouldn't even occur to such a blessed heart. And those who follow him likewise. You see that this disinterest in these things, just as where you sleep. Like one of my wife's teachers really made me smile. One of my wife's teachers, they were telling her about like modern housing, and they were like, yeah, you know, houses, they have like 3 bedrooms. She goes, you have bedrooms? So you have a room that's designated just for sleeping. So yes, why is that? Like, just sleep. Like, what? You need a room just to sleep. Just go and sleep, whatever. Like, whenever sleep overcomes you, just sleep. Then because that's how they live. They're in a gathering, and then they make a 10-15 minute cat nap, and then they're off again like that. You don't need a room to sleep. And so as you think, you've got a room to sleep. Okay, you got a kitchen to cook. Again, they're not interested in food. And then you've got a bathroom to do your business. Again, traditionally, the bathroom was always outside. It was never in there. So really, it's like, what if you, like, everything we've got in our house, and that's where people spend all the money on. Spend money on the great kitchen. Kitchen extension comes next. We've got to have a nice bathroom, and I've got to have a nice bedroom, so I'm comfortable.
All like, things are like dunyavi, or
none of them are needed in a natural life. None of them are needed. You don't need a bedroom. And like, if you don't believe me, come and live with me there. You'll see, you know, all of the students, they're all just sleeping whenever. Like, they're not. You can, if you're that tired, you can sleep anywhere. It really doesn't matter where you sleep. Kitchen, the same thing. Now, they mentioned that one of the things that always makes you smile. Look at Sayyidina Aisha, she didn't know how to cook. I'm probably going to cause a riot now. Why he said she didn't know how to cook? What she couldn't learn how to cook? What she need to learn how to cook? Did the Rasul ever say, well, you need to learn how to make a few more dishes, Aisha? Well, I haven't seen those narrations. I'd love to see them if they're there. No, the narrations we hear is 3 months, 4 months, with that fire being lit in the house. And those are the type of narrations that we hear. And Prophet he had more shyness in his own house than, like, they say, like, he was the most shyest of people. So he would come in and he was like, is there anything? I don't know, is there anything? Just like very gentle. He was so shy and ashamed to ask his family for anything. It's ajib, isn't it? And then they were like, no, they ain't, okay, I'm not fast today then. You know?
And the one misconception that you hear nowadays is people say, okay, that was that time. And we live in the modern age, for example, where that's a really common misconception I feel like people have nowadays.
Yes, you know, like the great Imam Ghazali, I'm sure you know this much like that, like you're a lot more knowledgeable than myself. Imam Ghazali, he says that to follow the Prophet sallallahu in to not follow him acts of worship is insane, but to not follow him in adat. Why would you not follow him in adat, other than the fact that he said there's some type of weakness in your iman? That doesn't make sense. Why would you not follow the Prophet in everything? What you're really saying is that he didn't come with the best way to do whatever it is. You know, like even non-Muslims admit that he came with the best way to do everything. They admit it. We've got a problem with it. So non-Muslims now, they'll imitate that. Like, look at, you know, a simple mundane. Look at going to the bathroom. The Prophet told us to squat. Now they're all saying this. Like, even things that, subhanAllah, one of the things that is ajib here is like toilet hygiene is terrible here. You go in, I'm so used to going in, you have a faucet so you can clean yourself. A very mundane example, it's an important example. And like this time when we got in, I went to the hotel, I'm looking around, oh my God, what am I supposed to do here? Like, you literally, the basic things. That's the Prophet he taught us these are the smallest things. And now there's this big craze now in the non-Muslim world to have faucets, so you clean it, because they recognize you need water to be clean. It's like, wow. So they will take the sunnah of the Prophet. They'll fast on Mondays and Thursdays. They'll do intermittent fasting, having 1 meal a day. They'll do, and whatever else you want to look at, they look at all of these different acts. They'll bring it, and they'll even bend the generosity of the Prophet. If you follow his sunnah, even the disbelievers follow his sunnah and gain some outward benefit from it. from it. Ajib. And we rejecting it. That's like, okay, if that's what you really think, well, the world's modernized beyond the prophetic example. Like,
as if we know better than he did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, as if we know better, and as if it's become outdated now. How it's more relevant now than ever. There's no more time when the sunnah is more needed than now, to be honest. We desperately need. You'll see that now. Like if you look at the world now, we're moving toward this AI world. They say that there's going to be two types of jobs left. One is going to be the AI programmers, people who can use AI. Second one is going to be like mental health counselors, because people are going to go insane. So like really like that, that aspect of bringing peace and sakina and tu'manina to the world, that's more needed now, and it's only going to increase than ever before. And that's what the Prophet came for. That's what he came to bring. Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. Where does the dhikr of Allah come from? It comes through the gateway, which is the Prophet ﷺ. So the relevance of his teaching has never been more relevant, and it's only going to increase. You're going to see now, like for example, now because I teach children, parents are complaining on my child's.
So Sheikh, one thing is, doing actions in these months. How important is staying away from sins as well? Those things which displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah, I mean, a lot more important, no doubt. And especially in the sacred months. Sacred months are really about that. It's about actually staying away from what they call tark. And the religion is all about leaving rather than taking. We can tend to think it's about increasing good action. That's important, but leaving is far more important. So when you look at sin, there's two aspects to it. There's one is like everybody has a weakness. This is what they say. Every human being, you have one particular sin that they struggle with. And it could be anything. And this is the nature of the human being. Somebody's sin could be like, I don't know, like addiction to gambling or something like that. Someone else's sin could be, they have bad opinions of other people. And it goes on and on and on. There's certain things that everyone struggles with, but there's one particular sin for you. So one thing is to work on that and to try to remove that. And then the second aspect is on working on the sins of the heart. The great Imam Ghazali, he says that ibqa'ul amal, like maintaining the reward of an action is much harder than action. Because what happens is you do an action and then your hatred towards another Muslim ruins it. Or your arrogance, your superiority, thinking you're better than another human being, full stop, or even a creature, even an animal, ruins it like that. So it's focusing upon those. And again, this quite not like what's the biggest crisis in the Muslim world today? It's not Sudan. It's not Palestine. It's not this. The biggest crisis in the Muslim world today is the abandonment of fard ayn knowledge, obligatory knowledge. That's the biggest crisis in the Muslim world by ijma'. Yeah, like you can have different scholars and different groups or whatever people want to talk about with the Muslims. One thing they all agree on is this. There's not a single scholar out there, no matter what persuasion or whatever else it might be, that who's going to disagree with this. The fard, and then within fard ayn, the biggest abandonment within fard ayn knowledge is the knowledge of the sins of the heart, which is obligatory. It's obligatory to understand envy and how to avoid it, how to cure yourself, to understand arrogance, to ostentation, hatred. It's obligatory, and that's not completely abandoned. At least, mashallah, people still know how to pray. Most people know the rules of prayer. They know the rules of Hajj when they go on Hajj. They know the rules of fasting in Ramadan. But that is just completely disregarded. So we kind of like, they give the analogy of like the rat going round and round and round. I'll be running around, and then there's nothing left to show for it at the end of the day. So this ibqa' al-amal is important. And the sacred months are opportunities for us to become aware of these things and try to guard ourselves from weaknesses, and then also from the sins of the heart.
And that's not them subjects like envy and the sins of the heart isn't really a topic that people even consider to be fard.
Yes.
Never mind fard ayn even.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't. And this is part of the crisis. This is like, probably the greatest trick that the devil's pulled, so as they would say. Yeah, this probably is the greatest. He just completely made you forget these types of things. And then like he meant, there's a narration where he mentions Imam Ghazali brings in his Ihya, where Shaitan saying, he goes, I play with these people. He goes, I play with them like a child plays with a ball. Like I just pull them here, put them there. And then he goes, except for those guys, there was a group, and he goes, that group there, who are they? He goes, those are the Sufis. I'm talking about people of truth. He goes, those people, I can't get near them because they guard their heart. They guard their heart from envy and hatred and arrogance and superiority and all of these things. Ujub is probably the greatest one, where you're impressed with yourself that I did it, or I passed the exam because, like exam season, I passed the exam because I'm really clever, or I passed the exam because I worked really hard. No, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything whatsoever. As soon as you start to take credit for something, you're actually negating your slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something huge, but things that we don't really even consider. like you said, people don't even know that. People don't think it's being knowledge, let alone obligatory personal obligatory knowledge. So,
and it goes back to a lack of like mindfulness almost. Like people will know that these things are not, that we're not supposed to do them, that they might be sins, but in the moment doing them, we're not even aware that it's happening.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting again, if you look at if you go back to education, if you go back to the pursuit of knowledge, like what do we learn? What do we teach the child? This is clear from Surah Luqman. The first thing that a child is taught is La ilaha illallah, and then the second reality is muraqabah, which is what the awareness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can see and hear everything you do. That's it. That's muraqabah. So that's actually, as a child, that's the second thing you're supposed to learn. And this is where, like I mentioned, like Sahal ibn Abdullah Tustari, as a young boy, he was taught these words, Allahumma Allah is with me and is witnessing me, and this developed within him a sense of shyness, modesty before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That really is a foundation. And what we'll do oftentimes is people will know, like some people, they even master these great books, longer texts within Islam, and they memorize so much and they do so much, but they don't have any type of level. I mean, we're all forgetful, don't get me wrong, but they don't even have moments in their day where they actually pray over. So what then did you learn? Or they literally 15, 20, 30 years go by and they don't even have one moment with Allah. And then they say, yeah, I'm Hafiz of the Quran. Okay, mashallah, you are technically Hafiz of the Quran, but what did you take from what are you guarding from the realities of the Quran within your heart? Like, you're not even aware of the one who gave you the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who's words? So you're not even aware of that. Like I said, not all the time. Okay, fair enough, we're not saints, we're not perfect, but at least moments, at least moments, because what would then happen is a common person could easily supersede someone like that. 20, 30 years, and a common person, maybe their daughter's ill in hospital, something calling out to Allah, far superior now, just from that moment of truthfulness and presence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It goes, I believe one of the stories of one of the awliya who he had a rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one of his visions he saw that his wife was of an even greater rank, and what he was known for is that he would do like thousands of salawat a day. And when he realized that his wife is of even greater rank, he asked her, like, well, I only see you sweeping the house, doing the normal things that people do at home, whereas I do thousands of salawat a day. And when he probed and prodded more further, he found out that she only does a couple of salawat a day, but when she did them she did them with so much love and presence for the Prophet ﷺ, that them couple of salawat catapulted her even further than he was, whereas his was just on the tongue, and it still got him to a certain rank, but hers got her even further than that.
It's quality over quantity. This is the key. Like, for you to spend 1 minute saying subhanallah with presence, it's better spending an hour saying subhanallah absent-mindedly. And like you said, it's an important point, is that it does have an impact. Even just the hour, even without hudur al-qalb, there's still an impact, but just a little bit of presence of heart goes a long way. No doubt,
and definitely we can take that into these next couple of months, inshallah. Sheikh, are there any parting message or any final comments you'd like to make regarding Hajj or Qurbani or anything?
Inshallah, I mean, I would just say, obviously seize the day, seize these moments. They say that the person of spirituality, Ibn al-Waqt, the son of the moment, seize these moments. And one of the things that personally I'm finding, there's a lot of despair in the Muslim Ummah. It's sad that there's a lot of despair and hopelessness, whether it's due to world events, whether it's due to our own personal life. Like, we can't shake off sins, we keep on doing the same things again and again. So leave all that behind. Leave all that behind. In despair, yes, is like, that's purely shaitanic. Leave all that behind and see these coming moments as moments of renewal. This is a fresh slate. Whatever's happened in the past is gone. Whatever's going to happen in the future, we don't even know anyway. So don't have worry about, except like our teacher in Yemen, Habib Umar, he said your grandparents and your parents survived World War I and they survived World War II. So what makes you think you're not going to survive World War III if it comes? So what? Like, nothing should change. I mean, you'll get through it. They got through it and they were fine. In fact, some ways their lives actually improved. Like, many of the Muslim lands during World War II were doing very well, to be honest. They were thriving. There wasn't any problems at all. So, don't worry about the future and what if this happens and that happens. That's completely out of our hands. It might not even happen. And then the past is the past. So have hope and try to use these coming days as a real true chance for renewal, developing new habits and trying to move forward positively with our lives.
Jazakallah, Sheikh. Just before we go, if you want to tell the people, inshallah, about your institute, any of the upcoming projects you have going, any of the courses.
Inshallah. So we have our institute is called Ladder to Success. Sulam al-Tawfiq in Arabic, translated Ladder to Success. So we do a lot of online courses for children and also for adults. And so alhamdulillah, we have a number of different, we do seerah, we do tafsir al-Quran, we also teach some logic, basic logic, trying to strengthen people's minds so they can overcome a lot of the challenges of the modern world, Islamic history, a number of things. And at the moment, alhamdulillah, I'm in the country for the next few weeks, so we'll be doing physical classes in Bolton, in Accrington, inshallah, be in Cambridge this Friday during the khutbah, inshallah ta'ala, so people are free. The Cambridge Central Mosque is a beautiful masjid, so it's worth going to the masjid just as an experience in and of itself. So inshallah, and then I'll be in London doing a Hajj seminar, and a few other things around. So inshallah ta'ala, whatever people can come to those gatherings, similar gatherings to that, with the blessed days coming up, inshallah, it'll be useful for them and it'll be beneficial for them.
Definitely, inshallah. Jazakallah for coming, joining us today, inshallah. We hope to have you again and again, and we can take from, inshallah, the knowledge that you've taken. Jazakallah for everyone for watching this episode. Inshallah, we've learned a lot about Hajj, a lot about Qurbani. Inshallah, we can make this season of Hajj transformative season for us that catapults us, inshallah, into the coming years. Jazakallah for watching. Keep tuned for the next episode, where we will have an episode on nurturing children, inshallah, and how to raise children in this modern age, which is such an important topic. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.